U.S. President Donald Trump arrived at The Hague on Wednesday for a NATO summit, and he reveled in what he presented as his ability to reach a ceasefire in the recent conflict between Iran and Israel.
They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easy to stop them.
On June 13th, Israel launched a surprise attack on Iranian military, government, and suspected nuclear sites. Iran retaliated by launching ballistic missiles, some of which struck Israeli population centers. Trump joined the fight on Israel's side, targeting Iranian nuclear sites with huge bunker-busting bombs. He claimed that decision put an end to the fighting.
This ended that with a war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now.
Both Iran and Israel declared victory after the ceasefire was announced. Israel claimed to have achieved its goals of destroying Iran's nuclear sites and missiles. Iran claimed to have forced the war to end by penetrating Israeli defenses. But the extent of the damage in Iran is uncertain. The U.S. dropped 30,000-pound bunker-buster bombs on the deeply buried Fordo uranium enrichment facility. An initial assessment by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency said Iran's path to building a nuclear weapon may have been set back only by months. Trump shrugged off that report, saying the findings were, quote, inconclusive and that the targeted sites were destroyed.
We hear it was obliteration. It was a virtual obliteration.
We need to return.
Rafael Grossi, the head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog, said his top priority was ensuring international inspectors could return to Iran's nuclear sites. Grossi said whatever the damage, Iran's ability to build a nuclear weapon remained.
What is clear is that, in any case, the technological knowledge is there and the industrial capacity is there that no one can deny.
And that the only long-term solution would be a diplomatic one.
The last thing they want to do is enrich anything right now. They want to recover.
Trump sounded optimistic that Iran would not continue to enrich uranium or pursue nuclear weapons.
We'll end up having somewhat of a relationship with Iran.
You just said you believe the conflict between Israel and Iran is over. What makes you so confident it is? And what do you do if it isn't?
Because I dealt with both. And they're both tired, exhausted. They fought very, very hard and very viciously, very violently. And they were both satisfied to go home and get out. And can it start again? I guess someday it can. It could maybe start soon. We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know. To me, I don't think it's that necessary. I mean, they had a war, they fought. Now they're going back to their world. I don't care if I have an agreement or not. The only thing we'd be asking for is what we were asking for before about we want no nuclear, but we destroyed the nuclear.
To let my voice known. I think it's important that people stand up for what they believe in, and I believe in that we should really be fighting climate change, and that can combine very well with the NATO talk that's happening right now, because these world leaders are just not taking it seriously.
This is what democracy looks like! You are not alone! You are not alone! You are not.
And together with President Zelensky, we have signed a bilateral agreement between Ukraine and the Council of Europe. Today's signature is a decisive step toward establishing a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine.
Every war criminal must know there will be justice, and that includes Russia. And we are now boosting the legal work in a serious way. There is still a long way to go.
More than a dozen people died during nationwide anti-government protests in Kenya on Wednesday, said the head of Amnesty Kenya. The group's executive director Irungu Houghton told Reuters that 16 people were, quote, verified dead as of 8:30. Houghton said most of those who died were killed by police. He said the figures were verified by the global rights watchdog and the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, or KNCHR. The government-funded KNCHR earlier said in a statement on X that 8 deaths had been reported across the country. The watchdog noted heavy police deployment and, quote, allegations of excessive use of force, including rubber bullets, live ammunition, and water cannons. KNCHR said on X that over 400 casualties had been reported, including demonstrators, police officers, and journalists. Kenya's police spokesperson declined to comment on the statements by Amnesty Kenya or KNCHR. The state-funded Independent Policing Oversight Authority said in a statement at least 61 people were arrested during the protests. The protests come a year after deadly demonstrations against a tax bill culminated in the storming of Parliament and killed more than 60 people. Although last year's protests faded after President William Ruto withdrew proposed tax hikes, public anger has remained over the use of excessive force by security agencies, with fresh demonstrations this month over the death of a blogger in police custody.
From how big claims landed Apple in court to what the new Pope thinks about bots, this is AI Weekly. Apple is being sued by shareholders who allege it overstated its progress on AI. A suit filed in San Francisco accused the tech giant of falsely leading investors to believe the tech would be a big feature of its iPhone 16. But Apple later delayed the rollout of some promised AI upgrades, which the plaintiffs say sparked a share tumble and cost them billions. The firm didn't respond to a request for comment on the case. Anthropic has a partial legal win to celebrate, however. A federal judge ruled that it didn't break copyright law by using books to train its bots without permission from authors. But the same judge said its copying and storage of some 7 million pirated books was an infringement. A December trial will now determine what penalty Anthropic must pay. Pope Leo has offered his thoughts on AI. The new pontiff spoke at a Vatican event attended by lawmakers from 68 nations. He said the impact of the new tech on young people was a key concern.
It must not be forgotten that artificial intelligence functions as a tool for the good of human beings, not to diminish them, not to replace them. What is emerging is, in fact, a significant challenge, one that calls for great attention and foresight in order to project, also in the context of new scenarios, healthy, fair, and sound lifestyles, especially for the good of younger generations.
SoftBank is pitching plans for a $1 trillion AI and robotics complex in Arizona. That's according to Bloomberg. It says the Japanese investor wants to create a US version of China's vast Shenzhen manufacturing hub. SoftBank reportedly wants to involve chips titan TSMC, but it's not clear if the Taiwan firm is interested. And Goldman Sachs says it's rolling out its AI assistant company-wide in a bid to boost productivity. It joins other banks in seeking a boost from the bots. Citigroup is already using AI to do tasks like summarizing documents. And Morgan Stanley has a chatbot to help financial advisors talk to clients.
The statue you see dates to the colonial era. It arrived to Ocumare when the Spanish conquistadors occupied these lands. When they would punish slaves, the enslaved people would express their discontent by banging drums and show their devotion to San Juan, which was imposed by the conquistadors. They had other beliefs. They showed devotion in other ways. But this saint was imposed to them Today we celebrate it with pride, devotion and faith.
Mucha fe.